Well, I suppose, Reef Life Survey is an idea of Graham Edgar's. The idea behind it is that there's a lot of changes occurring in the marine environment, that aren't in our faces. For example, if you went for a Sunday drive to your favourite national park and realised it had been clear felt, there'd be a public uproar. With the same thing or equivalent things can happen in the marine environment, but they go unnoticed often. There's a few scientific teams out there, but not much in the way of resources to keep track of these things. So, the recreational dive communities are the ones that notice the changes. There's the divers that have been diving their local waters for most of their lives that have seen all of these changes, but haven't got an efficient or a credible means to document it. So, RLS was designed to provide the mechanism and a rigorous way for recreational divers to record these changes.
Well, I think there are quite a few things. I think the vision that Jedgar had at the start was a pretty impressive vision. To get a boat, to get a bunch of volunteers, and to sail a yacht around Australia, collecting valuable scientific information from a lot of offshore coral reefs that hadn't been surveyed before. We collected over 1,200 surveys from over 550 sites around Australia, South West Pacific and New Zealand. We now have the most extensive data set for the coral reef system, Coral Sea. In that sense, to be able to access so many remote areas off one single trip is pretty impressive.
We throw the divers in with a fiberglass cape and an underwater data sheet and a pencil. I've had people say, "Well, I didn't even know you can write on paper underwater," but we certainly, we've got some data sheets printed out on waterproof paper and send them down there with that. And they do these surveys where they record all of the species that are on the transect and the numbers of all of the species and estimate the sizes. It's pretty involved. It's pretty full on, and everybody's brain just gets full of fish names. And I know, at least for me, for every new fish name that goes in, somebody's birthday or one of my mate's kids' names goes out. So it's always full steam ahead. And but that's definitely one of the reasons why it's been so successful.
I guess the analogy is to Matthew Flinders. He sailed around Australia 200 years ago, mapping the coastline and providing the first charts of the continent. And what we're trying to do is produce the first charts of biodiversity in terms of how the fishes and the other animals and plants are distributed around the coastline. So, hopefully these maps should still be around in 200 years' time so that people can compare what's happening with what was there when we did our surveys.
I think one of the fondest memories was sitting up on the deck watching the sunset with all the crew and just watching the sunset, just talking about life and what we'd seen that day underwater, and just appreciating where you are at that moment, and just enjoying it. I think that was
I mean, there's just so many incredible experiences we get to have doing this kind of work. I would encourage anyone to educate themselves or others on what surrounds them, because it's like stepping into outer space when you're literally just walking off the beach. It's amazing.
Personally, it's taken me to some amazing places, and places that I certainly wouldn't have expected to get to. The circumnavigation was incredible in terms of visiting some remote reefs where you can't get a charter out there. There's no commercial dive charters that will take you to some of these places. Just incredible to be in the middle of nowhere in perfect conditions, of course, and to dive these places you just wouldn't get to otherwise.
That was some of the best diving I've ever done. I definitely need to go back out there before I die. That's a very special place.
The underwater world is an amazing thing. Some of the best moments we had on board, just kicking back in a hammock in the sun, playing guitar or ukulele with the other guys, doing bommies and backflips off the top of the boat. Seeing whales swimming over the top of your divers while they're looking down, counting all the little fish, and this great big humpback will swim right over the top.
I think for myself, and I think for nearly all the other Reef Life Survey divers, we really wanted to make a hands-on difference to marine conservation, and this was the best avenue we thought this could occur. That if we can really measure the true magnitude of impacts on the marine environment for the first time, well, a lot more action should be happening in terms of reducing those threats.